Might the New England Patriots be preparing to play not just one, but two rookie quarterbacks in their season finale on Sunday? Stick around. You're about to be locked in to the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful, and thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage. Hopefully, your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Mike Debate, and I cover your New England Patriots for Patriots Country. So reach out to me. Let me know what's on your mind on X at MDABATENFL. You can also catch me over where the skies are blue on Blue Sky at MDABATENFL.bsky.social. And of course, if you're looking to show some social media love to Locked On Patriots, please do so on your X account at LO_Patriots. And Pats fans, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code, all lowercase, LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Pats fans, thank you all for joining us here today on this Friday episode, getting you ready for Week 18 and the New England Patriots season finale against the Buffalo Bills at Gillette Stadium. We have an intriguing show on tap for you today. Quarterback Drake Maye appears set to start this Sunday season finale. Whether that's the right move or the wrong move, well, that's still up for discussion. And even if Drake does get the start, folks, doesn't mean he's actually going to play the entire game. Fellow rookie Joe Milton has been getting some first-team reps. What does all of that mean for this Sunday's game? We'll keep it right here, folks, because we're going to dive deep into that discussion in just a moment, but we're also going to touch on who might be coaching their final game as a member of the Patriots coaching staff this weekend. Last but certainly not least, we're going to offer our final game predictions of the season for this 1 p.m. matchup at Gillette Stadium on Sunday, New England Patriots versus the Buffalo Bills. And today, I have the honor, the privilege of being joined by one of the great minds in this business. You know his great work for covering the New England Patriots for Patriots Football Now. He is my good friend, Dan Kelley. Dan, welcome back to the pod. Always an honor to share the microphone with you, my friend.
Great to be here, Mike. I really appreciate you having me, as always, pal.
Oh, of course. And, you know, we were joking before we came on the show today. I told you that we would definitely welcome you to the airwaves here on Locked On Patriots before the end of the year. We kind of just made the cut. And so, you know what? We're going to roll with it because the Patriots right now might just be making the cut when it comes to their 2025 future. Let's dive right into that first, Dan, because a lot of Patriots fans anticipated that the Pats might come into this game maybe not giving Drake Maye the start, considering he left last week's game with a head injury, came back to the game, did not show any worse for the wear or any type of concussive symptoms, but at the same time, you still don't want to force the issue. Fast forward to only a couple of days, and Jerod Mayo, Alex Van Pelt, and even Drake himself have pretty much confirmed that he's going to get the start in this game. They definitely want to give him the ball to begin this matchup. We've also heard that Joe Milton, who has yet to take a professional snap in a meaningful setting, folks, in a regular season game, only rookie, by the way, that hasn't done so yet, he's been getting some reps with the first team. You got Jacoby Brissett on the bench right now, who is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. He's a veteran option. My question to you, my friend, is knowing what the Patriots know about their fate and knowing that they pretty much have to lose this game in order to get the number one overall seed, is starting Drake Maye irresponsible on behalf of the coaching staff? Is it what they should be doing? And if not, who else should we expect to see on the field this weekend?
Well, I think it is a very much a wild card at this point, what the Patriots' plans are. And to be honest, I'm not sure Jerod Mayo is even solidified on what he plans to do.
It's a fair point.
I do think Drake Maye likely starts. But Mayo did leave the door open, as he often does, and said as long as he is healthy and ready to go, he will start. So that leaves the door open for him not being ready to go for literally whatever reason you want to choose. Either his elbow was a little sore, shoulder was sore. They were nervous about concussion symptoms, whatever the case may be. But he did give himself an out as far as that's concerned. I do think the plan is to start May. I do think at this point, does it really matter? From the perspective of Drake Maye has now started 11 games, and he's only played a complete game and won once. His other win was Brissett coming in relief. So I do think, obviously, he gives you a better chance of winning the game than Joe Milton does. I'm not sure the Patriots are good enough to win regardless. And what I've always said, and this was a big conversation last year when it became obvious they weren't in the playoff hunt, players can't tank. They can give half effort out there, I suppose, but that's dangerous for the players. It's dangerous to play professional football against people going full speed when you're not going full speed. So it is one of those scenarios where the coaches have the ability to determine the outcome of this one much more so than the players do. For Jerod Mayo, does he think a win here might help him keep his job? Does he think his job is safe regardless? Those all come in to play in deciding what the Patriots are going to do. And I think something we've seen throughout the year has been a problem with them. I'm not sure that the three key parts of the organization, meaning ownership, management, which Elliott Wolf represents, and the staff, which Jerod Mayo represents, are all on the same page. So I think for the Kraft family, getting that number one pick is probably ideal. Obviously, they can't pass word down that, they'd like to lose the game. But for Elliott Wolf and Jerod Mayo, their jobs are at stake. Does the outcome of this game help or hurt them in any way? I don't know. I think people should have seen enough from both of them to whether they plan on keeping them or firing them. I think that decision should have been made before this game. The outcome shouldn't matter against a second team of the Buffalo Bills regardless. But I do expect May to play. I do expect, especially if the game gets away from the Patriots, I expect that we'll see some Joe Milton. I don't see any benefit in playing Jacoby Brissett in this game. He's an unrestricted free agent after the year. I do think retaining him is still on the table and bringing him back for another year, but I don't see any benefit to the player or the team in having Brissett play on Sunday. So I think that's about the one thing I'd feel confident ruling out. Other than that, I think everything's on the table.
Yeah, I think you make some excellent points. And I do want to circle back when it comes to the impact this is going to have on Jerod Mayo, the impact this may have on Alex Van Pelt, maybe even Elliott Wolf in the general manager's chair. But bringing it back to Drake Maye for just a moment. Drake did suffer the injury. A lot of people would look at it and say, well, that's enough right there and for me to keep him on the shelf and to not start him. But you also know as well as I, Dan, having been in locker rooms near professional athletes, these guys are wired differently. They don't want to be told they can't play unless they absolutely can't. If Drake feels competent to go out there and to play, he's going to want to do it. Jerod has cleverly, I think, and maybe the Patriots coaching staff as a whole and their training staff have cleverly given themselves, in your words, an outlet, especially on the injury report. Drake Maye is listed with a hand injury, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that they may lean on that and say, well, we decided last minute that he wasn't able to go. If they decide they don't want to give him any reps at all and go with Joe Milton and kind of give him the start, as you said before. We've obviously seen enough of Drake Maye to know what he is and to know that we need to keep him 100% healthy heading into 2025. He is your biggest selling point for trying to get free agents and for trying to get rookies that you draft motivated to play with a young, exciting quarterback that could be one of the tops in the league in short order. So I understand the need to preserve him for next season. There's also something to be said about maybe giving the kid a few series and allowing him to kind of get that bitter taste out of his mouth that he has against the Chargers. I think that was his worst performance as a pro. And those things have a tendency to stick in professional athletes' craws over the offseason. You want to give them an opportunity, if they're feeling up to it and you're confident that you can keep them healthy, to kind of expunge that a little bit. So maybe they're kind of doing him a solid, giving him an opportunity to go out there, get a few reps, get his confidence back, and then pull the plug and say, okay, now we're focused on 2025. If in fact that is the case, I don't believe, like you said, we're going to see Drake Maye for a lot in this game. I do believe the keys will be handed to Joe Milton eventually. That leads me to my next question for you, my friend, and that Joe Milton has yet to take a professional snap as a pro quarterback. He's done so in the preseason, had a couple of exciting moments, but we haven't seen anything out of him other than being an emergency third quarterback all season long. Judging from what you know about Joe as a college quarterback, the limited sample size that we've seen either in practices or in training camp reps, what type of Patriots offense may we see under Joe Milton for this week?
Sure. I would well, I do have my Tennessee quarter zip
The
on
Vols, yep. That's why I
today
asked the
in
question.
honor of Joe Milton. That's actually a shout out to my nephew Will Kelley, who goes to Tennessee.
Mhm.
But Joe Milton in last year's draft was QB7 on my board. And the only six people ahead of him were the six quarterbacks that went in the first round. And it wasn't that I thought Joe Milton was the most NFL ready of the remaining players, but his physical attributes and talent are undeniable. He has an incredible arm. He has incredible athleticism.
Mm.
He has great size for the position. But there's a reason. If he had all of those things and was a very accurate passer, he would have been the number one overall pick in the draft.
Okay.
He had huge lapses at Tennessee where sometimes the throws did look like he either was missing the play altogether or just missing the throw altogether. But so if he gets in today, and I know he has been running practice teams and running opposition's playbooks, but I would assume it would look a lot more like a preseason game. It will be a really, I don't like to use the word dumbed down, but a simplified
Yeah.
version of the playbook where it's, quick reads or, a set play where it's someone's running a fly pattern and Milton's going for him up the sideline and maybe has, a running back as an outlet if that's not available. But I wouldn't expect there to be a complex offense with him in the game. I think it would be a lot more of let's just show people what you can do, similar to preseason, get them excited for the big arm, show off his strengths a little bit and avoid touching on the weaknesses. And like we said, important to keep in mind also, for the most part, if he does see the field, he's going to be going against second stringers.
Yeah, very good point. And I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that we may see a more simplified offense out of Alex Van Pelt. To be honest with you, I think we may see that even with Drake Maye in the lineup. We saw what happened when this team tried to get a little exotic last week, ended in some disastrous results. So you don't really have the personnel, as I said earlier this week to Joe Marino, host of Locked On Bills, to use a golfing analogy. I don't know if the Patriots have the necessary clubs in the bag to get exotic, and I don't think they want to start doing this now. Keep it simple, keep your quarterbacks protected, and allow Joe, I think, to showcase his talent. Because the one thing that Alex did make a mention of when we spoke to him earlier this week was his ability to throw the football, but also he was very impressed with the poise with which he led the scout team. And I thought that was a very good compliment for a young quarterback that we haven't seen much of. Let's face it, his sample size, Dan, 11 of 30 in this preseason, 54 yards on the ground, 152 yards passing. He did have the touchdown, some exciting moments, but that's very, very little to be able to hang your hat on and say, okay, this kid is ready to be our number 2 quarterback overall. I think there is a veteran quarterback that needs to come back, whether it is Jacoby coming back or someone else coming in. You need someone with that veteran level-headed presence to be able to keep these guys in line and help show them and help them continue to grow. They're both rookies. They're both going to need that time. So, folks, we are just scratching the surface when it comes to the Patriots' implications for their season finale this week in Week 18. New England Patriots coaching staff might be feeling the heat, and those hot seats may be heating up for quite a few members of this coaching staff, including the man in the head seat, Jerod Mayo. Will he be coaching for his job on Sunday? Could it be the swan song for Alex Van Pelt or DeMarcus Covington? Could some of the position coaches be on the block? Dan and I are going to talk about the implications for the coaching staff in this matchup when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On listeners, it's playoff time, and if you're like me, you want to make the most of these final weeks of football action. That's where Prize Picks comes in. If you love football and want a chance to win real money while watching the games, Prize Picks is the place for you. It's the best way to turn your sports opinions into cash with daily fantasy player projections. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on player stats, like total passing yards or rushing touchdowns. And for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your money, you can make your picks in less than 60 seconds. And whether you're looking for a flex play to boost your payout or you want to cash out quickly, Prize Picks has got you covered. And with over 10 million members and billions in winnings, it's clear that people are loving this platform. Here's a special offer for Locked On NFL listeners. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's Prize Picks. Run your game. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Locked On listeners, what do you want your 2025 story to be? Every January brings a new chapter, 365 blank pages waiting for you to fill. If there's a part of your life you want to rewrite or a plot twist you've been craving, why wait? Life isn't about fleeting resolutions. It's about taking control and becoming the author of your own story. Think of therapy as your personal editor, helping you craft the life you deserve. It's not just for crisis situations. Therapy can help you develop healthier coping strategies, improve your relationships, and empower you to be the best version of yourself. Whether you're facing a challenge or just looking for personal growth, therapy is a powerful tool to help guide your journey. Whether it's learning how to set boundaries or tackling stress in new ways, therapy can help you develop skills for a better tomorrow. Even if you've never tried therapy, the benefits are clear. Finding someone to talk to and gain fresh perspectives can make all the difference in how you navigate life's ups and downs. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Patriots fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots, getting you ready for Sunday's 1 p.m. kickoff, Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts, two teams in drastically different directions. No implications for the Bills at all in this one, but there are some things on the line for the Patriots. Pride, potential in terms of the young players they have on this roster. If the Pats lose, they're locked into the number 1 overall pick. Several across these airwaves all week long, myself included, have argued that should be their number 1 priority. But this coaching staff may be coaching for something entirely different, their jobs, their very existence in Foxborough. Joining me here today to break this all down is my good friend Dan Kelley of Patriots Football Now. Dan, we talked a lot about the decision to potentially start Drake Maye. We talked a lot about Joe Milton getting some looks in this game, but this coaching staff has been under fire now for quite a while. That's led to a lot of people believing that it's time for a change, even after 1 year of Jerod Mayo taking over for Bill Belichick last year. We've heard the whispers about the positional coaches being on the block. The coordinators seem to be on edge. And even the head coach right now is feeling that hot seat. So, Dan, heading into this game, Do you believe that any of these Patriots coaches are indeed coaching this game on the hot seat? Could any of them be coaching their swan song here in New England? But I think the better question that I have for you, my friend, is should they be?
I think there are a couple of moving parts there, Mike. The big thing starts at top. If Jerod Mayo loses his job, then all bets are off for everyone else on the staff. It's whether it's Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, whoever they were to target as Mayo's replacement, they're going to want to bring in their own guys, and certainly, there might be a few holdovers from the staff, regardless of who gets the job, just because they're quality coaches that they opt to keep around. But if Mayo loses his job, everyone's job is in jeopardy for sure. If Mayo gets retained, that doesn't mean everyone else is safe. There's going to be a few changes regardless. So if we assume for the time being that Mayo keeps his job, and for the record, I do still think that's the most likely outcome. And part of the reason for me is because the hiring was personally endorsed by Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft made the selection of Mayo as the next head coach. He chose not to interview any other candidates. And he said he made the decision 5 years ago. The only analogy I could think of would be Conan O'Brien being promised the Tonight Show 5 years in advance and then getting canceled after 3 months to put Jay Leno back. But we're not getting Bill Belichick back in New England. So the question for me is who else could leave? Brian Belichick, the safeties coach, could opt to join his dad down in North Carolina now that his father's landed a new job. And if we're being honest, the safeties have had a really disappointing year for the Patriots. Kyle Duggar has very much underperformed his extension or his free agent contract, actually. Jabril Peppers, obviously, the off-field issues have kept him away. So it's been Marte Mapp, who's been a healthy scratch multiple times. He's shown flashes at other times. So it's been a disappointing year for the safeties, and Brian Belichick would have a place to go. So I could see that being an easy one. The most talked about one is probably Tyler Hughes, the wide receiver coach. And not just due to the lack of production, but due to the general lack of happiness, or it seems like there's disgruntled wide receivers every week in that room, or someone with something to say. And we've all followed the NFL long enough to know that you're going to get that with star receivers. The problem is the Patriots don't have star receivers, and they still have that. They still have guys who might be fourth or fifth on some other teams' depth charts, questioning the play calling or their playing time or their targets. And, someone reported last week, I think it was Andrew Callahan of the Herald, reported that Jalen Pope looks like he has no friends on the team. He has his headphones on constantly. He's not talking or interacting with anyone. That's not a great environment for a struggling rookie in a media market like Boston. That's he needs some support. And I was under the impression that was going to be a focus of this new regime, is to present players with that type of support that maybe they didn't get from the Belichick years. So that is a real check in the negative column for Mayo and his staff, and Tyler Hughes might be the one that pays the price as a result of it. But, I don't think anyone on a 3-13 staff should be feeling overly confident about their job security at the moment.
Very good point. And we saw that this week in speaking to the coaching staff. There seemed to be an air of uneasiness that normally is always there, especially at the end of seasons. You know, you never know what's going to happen from one year to the next. It was clear last year that there was uneasiness in terms of what was going to happen with the Bill Belichick regime and how that was all going to shake out. But there was a little bit of a different feel to what I expected at the end of this year from mostly everyone in the coaching staff, Jerod included. I think everyone understands the need to balance this team's future. And we've talked about that, and that the number one pick really being the best overall scenario, the best overall outcome for the New England Patriots heading into this offseason. But there's also a need to show that there is something on which we can build when it comes to this coaching staff, and maybe a little more aggression on defense than we've seen from a unit that was number 9 in DVOA in 2024, and they've plummeted to near the bottom of the league in 2025. That's a huge free fall. The offense averaging just 16.6 points per game. That's good for 30th in the league. That is not going to win you a lot of acceptance points with your bosses. They're near the bottom of the barrel when it comes to red zone and when it comes to third down efficiency. These things all need to improve. You're not going to see glowing improvements in every one of these areas in one game. You may not see a lot in any of these areas, but I think there needs to be some sort of growth, or at least some spark that this team can hang its hat on heading into 2025. Again, I think we're going to be evaluating a lot what happens on the field this weekend. And that is one of the big reasons why Dan Kelley and I are happy to bring you our game prediction, because there is still a game to be played this weekend. And it may end up giving us clues as to who stays, who goes, and who we can look at as potential building blocks for 2025 and beyond. Dan and I are going to dissect Pat's Bills in just a moment when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On listeners, the NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up the W. I personally love the strategy of deciding on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. But not only can you bet on who will win the game, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points each team will score, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Patriots fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots, getting you ready for kickoff Week 18, the Patriots' regular season finale of 2024. This Sunday, Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts. The Patriots get ready to suit up one more time before taking their leave of the 2024 season, and all eyes will be on 2025. Dan, I don't think either one of us are expecting a whole lot of game planning to be visible in this game. I don't think we're expecting a whole lot to be learned about the Patriots' offense, defense, and special teams. But in the previous segment, I did tease that I am looking for some sort of offensive spark, some sort of defensive spark, something to let me know that both of these units understand how far they've fallen and what they need to do to improve. Not going to be easy against the Bills team that I still think puts out a better quality, even with their reserves, than the Patriots would if they ran most of their starters. So in that vein, my friend, when you look at this game between the Patriots and the Bills, what do you expect to see on the field in terms of strategy from both teams? And how do you see this one all shaking out on Sunday afternoon?
I think the Bills are going to go full tilt. They're just going to go full tilt with their second unit. But those guys are all looking to play. They're looking to make contributions. The Patriots are in a very interesting situation. Like you alluded to, most people following the Patriots are hoping that they land the #1 pick more so than win a fairly meaningless game in Week 18 against Buffalo. But to me, their Patriots have a lot of players and coaches looking to prove something from an individual standpoint in the game. A lot of these guys are playing for jobs, and it
Mm,
doesn't even mean necessarily that they're going to earn a starting job with the Patriots next year, but they just want to put some good tape out there for other teams. So anyone that's in the game for New England is going to be doing their absolute best to play their best.
mm,
The
good
coaching
point.
staff needs, like you talked about, something that they really need to be able to point to and hang their hats on. One thing that any coaching staff can really hang their head on is helping players overproduce in terms of
Mhm.
performing much better than was expected before the season began. And if you'd noticed, the NFL Coach of the Year award doesn't go to Andy Reid, who has one loss this year, is not even in the discussion. It's probably going to go nearly unanimously to Kevin O'Connell because people thought the Vikings were going to stink, and now they're in position to maybe land the number one seed in the NFC.
Mm,
So it's about exceeding expectations. And if you look at the New England Patriots 53-man roster, how many people on that entire roster, top to bottom, can you confidently say exceeded your expectations this year? And, maybe Austin Hooper, um, maybe Christian Gonzalez, in terms of just coming back, although we all knew he had the talent. Um, Maybe Christian Ellis. I just might be a little biased because he's a player I enjoy watching. He tackles a lot better than the majority of the defense, but you could literally count them on one hand, no matter how generous you are with that evaluation. That does not speak well to the coaching staff. So we're looking at a cornerbacks coach like Mike Pellegrino, who I think has done a nice job in New England. He was here with Belichick and with Mayo. So you might be looking at a guy like Isaiah Bolden making a big play on Sunday, going for a pick six, because he's been working on a specific route. And they know Buffalo is going to simplify their offense too, because they have backups in the game. So I think we're going to see a lot of gambles being taken by both teams, but the Patriots especially, where guys are going for the interception, guys are going for the sack. And it's also going to make it susceptible to some big plays. So even though there are backups in the game, we could have a higher scoring game than a lot of people are anticipating. But I think the big thing is just to see some individual strong performances. Javon Baker, it would be nice for him to get his first NFL catch.
mm,
He has not done that. And we're heading into the final week of the season. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a wide receiver screen at some point with him in there, just to get him the ball and get him on the stat sheet and maybe try to see what he can do once he actually has the ball and get his confidence going. Some snaps for Jaheim Bell, the tight end, and maybe some snaps for rookie running back Terrell Jennings, the
mhm.
undrafted free agent who was inactive last week. But if guys aren't part of the Patriots 2025 plans, I don't think they should be seeing the field on Sunday. I think Sunday should be treated as the first preseason game of 2025 and give an audition to some of these guys just to see what they can do.
Yeah, great point. And I like the analogy to the first preseason game of 2025 taking place early on in the calendar year of 2025 because it really is. And I think that that's what you're going to see from this New England Patriots team. Offensively, it's been my assessment right along that the last time these two teams played a couple of weeks ago, Patriots got off to a very fast start. I thought they had a good game plan against the Bills, but I also think the Bills were maybe taking the Patriots a little more lightly than they should. I don't think that's going to be the case this week. They're not going to be unprepared. They're going to be ready for what they're going to throw at them. I've made the joke, Dan, sort of channel your inner Cobra Kai. Strike first, strike hard, show no mercy. Yeah, these are the types of things that you want to see from the New England Patriots. The problem is they don't have the personnel to sustain this for 4 quarters and be able to beat what the Buffalo Bills are going to throw out there at you. So I don't see the Pats pulling out a victory this weekend, but I still think that they can hold their head high, leaving Gillette Stadium with the type of performance they're capable of giving you. I think that's going to give the fan base, the ownership group, and the players on the field everything they want without necessarily damaging what this team needs for the future.
I think make an excellent point about how well they played, especially in that first half against the Bills the first time, or first quarter and a half for sure. Because if we saw a similar effort last weekend against the Chargers, I think all Patriots fans and media and the team itself would be feeling significantly different than they do at the moment. That game against the Chargers was just an absolute beatdown by a very solid team, a team that's going to be in the playoffs, but not a great team. Not, if the Chargers reach even the AFC Championship, that's going to surprise a lot of people.
Right.
And like I say, they're a good team. They're competitive. They have a lot of good young players. They have significantly more talent than the Patriots for sure, but they manhandled the Patriots, and it looked like a varsity JV type of scenario. And it made all of the progress that people felt good about, even those that are rooting for them to lose, probably especially those that are rooting for them to lose, from the Buffalo game. It just wiped that out entirely, and then maybe took another step backwards from there. It was really the epitome of one step forward, two steps back. So I think it is important for them, especially if they're not planning on cleaning house. I think it's really important for them to put a good performance on the field on Sunday, regardless of outcome. The win and loss doesn't really matter in terms of generating the excitement. Obviously, it matters a lot in the draft order and so forth, but it shouldn't matter in terms of coaches keeping their jobs. That should already be decided, in my estimation. But it will go far in terms of generating a little excitement heading into 2025. It's the difference between following another game like the first Buffalo game or following a game like this Chargers game last weekend.
Very good point. And again, I think that in order to build morale, you are going to need to see growth, because that loss last week, to quote a term that we hear an awful lot in professional sports, really any realm of sports, folks, whether it's amateur or professional, demoralizing. That's exactly what it was. It was a demoralizing loss. You can't have one of those heading into next season. It's a terrible selling point. It's an awful blueprint to try to get the same guys back in that locker room, get them motivated for next season. And it's certainly not going to look good on the resumes of the coaching staff that is looking to try to save their job. You've heard me say pretty much all week long, on an offensive standpoint, use the run to extend drives, but take the chances downfield when you see them. And who knows, good things could happen, whether it's Drake Maye throwing the football, whether it's Joe Milton throwing the football. These guys have the athleticism and the arm strength to make things happen. On the defensive side of the ball, you're probably going to be seeing an awful lot of Mitch Trubisky. Even though Josh Allen's going to get the start, I still think the Patriots see an awful lot of Mitch. And one of the ways that the Patriots have been able to limit Trubisky in the past is to use zone coverage on the first couple of downs, keep him contained, and then switch to man coverage on third down. That seems to be an effective way to neutralize him. If I'm DeMarcus Covington, it's not complicated, but that's what you want to do. You want to show that this defense is capable of putting pressure on a quarterback in a third down situation. I think they get the chance to do it a little more than they have these last couple of weeks. That being said, the supporting cast of Buffalo, both offensively and defensively, just a little too much in this one. I like the Buffalo Bills coming out of Foxborough with a win this weekend by a final of 30-21. Dan, what can I say? I really appreciate you dropping by, lending your wisdom, your counsel, your reason the way only you can. Definitely looking forward to your next visit here to Locked On Patriots. Any more parting words of wisdom for this 2024 New England Patriots season?
Well, I will say, and I know this is going to be an unpopular pick, I think the Patriots are going to win this weekend. I think it is going to be a fitting end to a season for those who have been disappointed throughout. A win in the final game in a meaningless fashion, maybe a Joey Slye field goal for the victory. I'll say 23-20. for the win.
Dan, what can I say? Thank you so much for joining me here today. Folks, thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us here on Locked On Patriots, making us a part of your daily Patriots coverage. A special tip of the cap to all of you everydayers out there that continue to make Locked On Patriots possible each and every week. On behalf of my good friend Dan Kelley, I'm Mike Debate, reminding all of you to stay safe, to stay well, to be the change you wish to see in the world. If you're heading to Gillette this weekend, please do so safely. Please enjoy the game responsibly and get home safely. That's the most important thing. Have a great day, a great weekend. We'll see you back here again on Monday on Locked On Patriots.